Welcome to Dungeon Mastering is Easy. This is the show that shows that anyone could be a dungeon master. Great to have you with us. My name is Vahid Qualls. I'm the host of the show. And today we are joined by Gnome Anne. Gnome is a creative force of nature beloved by hundreds of thousands of TTRPG nerds from all over the planet. Known for their infectious fun, energetic, and insightful takes on TTRPGs. Look, if you follow TTRPGs on TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, or YouTube, you're very likely to already know them. Welcome, Gnome Anne. So how are you doing? Good to have you here.
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am so good, so good. And today, Gnome is going to be sharing some insights on making monsters scary.
My favorite thing in the whole world, monsters.
Love it.
I think, like you said, I do a lot of comedy stuff, but I have a deep love of horror and like creature features and those things like that. And I want to ask you, do you like horror movies? Do you like scary creatures, things like that?
I have a love for zombies especially. No, sorry. Let me try again. I said zombies. I didn't even mean that. I didn't even mean it. I don't even know why I said vampires.
Vampires? Okay, yeah. An elegant monster. Very well chosen.
Elegant and brutal.
And brutal, exactly.
And emotionally distant, like me.
That's such a good example because I kind of have I have two main strategies, and I've broken them up into three, because imagine a Venn diagram, but it's also layered. I actually don't. It's okay. But basically, this is true of like when you're writing or in movies, like the scariest part of every horror movie is always before the monster appears, right? Like if you think about it, as soon as you see the vampire, it's like almost been defanged a little just by actually seeing it.
Wow.
So this is really cool for us as dungeon masters. So this is my like beginner level. If like you're new to DMing and you just want to add a little more like ooh to the monsters, what you can do is create some fear before they meet the monster. So the most basic way to do this is to add something strange into the environment or something uncanny or unexpected. So like, let's think of like a boring D&D monster, like a skeleton or something, right? You're like a skeleton, like kind of basic, kind of boring monster. But like, instead imagine that you're going through like a field of tall grass and you notice that there are strange shaped white stones everywhere. And it's only on closer inspection that you realize they're slightly porous. And when you touch them, they begin to animate and to coalesce and to regroup and to take anthropomorphic shapes. And now you've actually been surrounded by these skeletons. It's the exact same thing as like you walk into the field, there's a bunch of skeletons attack. But just adding the little bit of flavor ahead of time creates that suspense and tension that we're looking for without having to do any stats or like any advanced stuff. It's just thinking, okay, if these guys were already here, what would have happened?
What would have happened? That's a great question. Yeah.
Like you walk into a cave of a monster and there's blood on the walls and carcasses littered at the entrance. It's all that stuff that makes the monster scary. Even if it's just a totally like normal D&D monster when you get there, all the stuff you do to create tension before that, you can just think, okay, if this monster's been living here, they have to have been eating something. They have to have been doing something. Like their story didn't start when we meet them. So you can kind of play that out. A really fun, easy way to do this, and this is very vampire adjacent, is local legends, hearsay, folklore. The townspeople have legends of a terrible beast that lives in the woods, and they'll probably be contradictory legends, and they'll be like, people don't even want to talk about it. People don't want to go out at night. And that's always so fun. And you can do that for literally any kind of monster, and it'll give it a little more like weight.
I love the idea of contradictory legends things that grow upon themselves. And because it casts doubt into the mind of the players. What's true? What am I going to be facing? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more intermediate version of this would be stretching out what I call the evidence of the monster further. So maybe the monster has been operating in this area for years and it has fundamentally changed the culture here in some way. Or people just say oh no, we know not to go out at night here. Or they would never greet a stranger. No one will invite you into their home.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right.
Things they just know things, right? Things are off. Or something about the landscape, because I love cosmic horror. Something about the landscape has been fundamentally changed by the presence of some evil.
Yeah. That's really fun. Yeah. Blood in the water and
yes,
that's strange growths on trees and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you find an exsanguinated cow. That's the stuff. And then my advanced level. So I wouldn't recommend this for if you're brand new, but if you've already tried out some of these other strategies and your party loves it, I would say also you want to make sure that you run this stuff by your party first, because there's a line between the kind of scary we do in action adventure stories and then getting into straight up horror. But if everyone's down to get a little freakier and you're starting to gain some confidence, the scariest monsters are the ones that upset our understanding of how the world works.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, so say for example, you've been fighting monsters in your little campaign and everything's been pretty evenly matched for you. And then you go into a cave, you're on a dungeon crawl, and you meet a monster who doesn't immediately take a physical form, but only has layer actions to start. And closes the exit behind you.
Uh-huh.
So it's we kind of learn rules about the way these fictional worlds work, right?
Yes.
That we're able to move through things, that the monster will appear to us when it's time to fight, that that there are things monsters can and can't do.
Yes.
And when we mess with those rules,
got you.
That's when the real horror comes.
Yeah, right. I can't see them. They're not doing anything, but their layer, just by their presence, their layer is doing things. And I don't even know how to fix that. Don't know how to change it.
Yeah. I think this is a lot trickier because it can lead, because of the way the mechanics of the game work, it can lead to people feeling confused or helpless. And so we don't want to leave people in that space because that's just not fun. But it can be used for that moment of tension of just showing how powerful something is. And then my advice always is when you do something like that, I tinker with the stats a little bit to make them a glass cannon. Love a glass cannon, which is something that does big damage, but doesn't have a lot of hit points. I always increase the damage, lower the HP.
Yeah.
I when I'm trying to make a monster scary, my thing is it should be able to one-shot someone on a crit.
All right. Yeah. That scares the bejeevers out of characters, right?
Yeah. But also, if they do well too, they can eliminate it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But they don't even know that going in. Being a nice DM who doesn't actually want to TPK my party, will lower the HP so I don't actually murder them all. But I'm taking at least one of them down to 0 HP. You better believe it.
I love the idea when talking about glass cannon. I love the idea that you hit hard and you hit fast.
Yes.
Right? And then if you've got say I'm pulling a number, 7th level characters. Okay. And they've all got about 60, 75 hit points, right? First shot. Okay, that does 65 hit points. What?
Yeah.
I'm down, guys. First shot.
And that's the thing, right? That changes our understanding of the rules of the world. Everything we've met in this world has been scaled to us. And suddenly we meet something that isn't. Then they're
I gotta get, yeah, well.
I gotta get, they're oh, actually the cave, collapsed behind you. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Not
That's great.
actually. Yeah. Try to avoid going megalomaniac with it. But I think that can be really fun, especially if you've done a lot of the, like, if you did a lot of that stuff, like there were legends in the woods before, the mutated trees and strange burrows that look like faces, and then they get to the monster and it's like this. They're like, maybe we should listen to all those villagers who told us not to go in the
woods. Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, I love it. Gosh, maybe there's something in that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then I think the counteract to that is you have to scale up the, like, they're a hero after that. If they defeat this monster, and then that village, they're like a hero now.
Yeah, that's right.
That has to scale too, so that they're willing to make the same mistake again.
Brilliant. Okay, you've given us like 3 really cool levels of making monsters scary. And you've gone through them, like the first couple of fairly fast, and we've spent a little bit more time on this glass cannon upscaling things and upsetting the world. Let's go back to the beginning and about building up the tension. Gnome has many, many more ideas on how to make monsters scary coming up. Speaking of scary monsters, Dice Legenz is putting out a book called You Need More Orcs, which has 100 pages of orky goodness, including 60 original orc stat blocks with frightening abilities and powers you've never seen before. Plus, it has a whole bunch of chapters that will amp up the orcs in your campaign, including cultural practices, social structures, how to build orc fortifications, sayings and expressions. Look, it's stuff for both Dungeon Masters and players. Head to our Kickstarter page now, link in the video and podcast description below, because you need more orcs. Every horror film builds up the tension through music, through false jump scares, builds up, it's the cat, it's that
it's
classic.
Always the cat first.
And then it goes quiet, and then bang, then you're hit. Of course, it's those kind of conventions, but it's the buildup that that increases that fear. So yeah, I think if we were to think of some, if we brainstorm other kind of things that we can do around that, what are some thoughts that you already have around that?
So I think the most immediate way to do, which I think it's, when I say it's easiest, it's more just something you can do when, like, maybe you're not a big prep person, you just kind of the encounter snuck up on you, and you're like, I need to build tension in 5 minutes. This is what you can do.
Cool.
Which is basically engage every sense before visual. So you hear a shuffling sound in the distance, but it echoes off the walls. Anything that's disorienting like that is nice. You smell blood, meat, rot, all those nasty things. The temperature of the air changes. The humidity changes, like something like that. You feel a prickle on the back of the neck, like you're being watched. Any sense that isn't seeing the monster is going to help build tension, and it gives them a bit of information. It's clues, right? Like, if there's a ghost, suddenly the temperature drops around you. And there's a chill in the air, and you feel something nagging at your mind, like it summons a memory you've tried to repress, but you're able to hold that back. Just little things like that to build dread as you move forward.
Yeah.
And you can do that pretty quickly. Also, if you use visual cues that aren't seeing the monster. Any visual cue that's like, the shadows move the wrong way.
Yeah.
Or there's like, we saw those stones that weren't stones or anything like that.
Yeah.
Before the actual whole monster appears.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I love that. The whole idea that you engage every sense, because every time that we say that, our imagination is so connected to our perception of reality that the more of those imaginary markers we can connect to other senses, the stronger the image is, the more we will feel it.
Another thing that's good for that, like really trying to get the players to be in the scene, is thinking of what the player character's body is doing moving through the environment. So like the scale, for example, if you have like a 2-foot tall character and a 7-foot tall character, they probably see different things. If someone is like a lizard folk, they might experience the temperature differently. Anything that you can use to make it as specific to them. If they've moved out of a hot area into a cold area, their body will experience that. And that's a way to take this from something that's very abstract to something that's very present, that's very lived in, which is inherently scarier. Nothing's scary in the abstract, really. It's only when you're like experiencing it through the story, that you're in the story, that you're immersed in it, that you start to actually get that chill.
I was thinking of another example when you were first saying this, is a monster that's not a horror monster, just a massive primordial force monster, which is the Balrog from Lord of the Rings. Tolkien just describes it as a creature of smoke and fire. Very vague, but our imagination kind of creates all these things. And in the movie adaptation, of course, again, it's kind of veiled in so much smoke that you actually can't see a lot of the detail. And that kind of masking almost makes it more scary than if we could see a kind of a lizardy kind of looking creature.
I think the caveat I'll add here is, is this a monster they're supposed to fight? Because if it's a monster they're not supposed to fight, I love an impossible geometry. I love something whose arms stretch out wider than the horizon. You know, I like something that is a shadow you feel but don't see, that kind of stuff. However, in D&D, we typically expect to be able to hit it with a sword until it dies. So we do have to kind of at some point be like, it does have a shape. It fits on this square in the battle map.
Yeah.
But I also think like, especially with if you're making your BBEG a monster and not like a supervillain, but if it's going to be like a monster, I say go with it. Also love like an avatar of a monster that you can fight, and then keeping the monster behind the scenes, the man behind the curtain is like the smoke and fire creature.
Yes.
And like in The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf like straight up says, he's like, you can't fight this guy. Hey dudes, my dudes, your real beef dick coming it this way. And then he like, I don't know, swan dives off the cliff. That's how I remember it going.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. Guys, you're all really awesome, but you're going to die. So run.
Yeah. Goodbye. Peace. My favorite part of Lord of the Rings.
Now, let's look at your medium level one, which was this medium level trick or technique about sowing doubt through legends and myths and things like that. I love that idea. I think it's really fun. Yeah, so if you have any insights or examples of how people can do that in a way that's really effective, I'd love to hear more details.
Okay, this also is partially me just being like a colossal art nerd, but art, if you look at like medieval art, you'll be like, what the heck was going on in those years in Europe? Because the monsters are everywhere. And it really makes it feel like, was there something there? Because, and if you like go to this place and there are murals on the wall that depict gruesome scenes, and they're just like, oh yeah, that's the legend everyone knows of Cranog Soul Devourer who lives in the woods. And they're like, oh, hey.
Yeah.
So I think art, we good old Legend of a Tavern, they go to get some legend and all they get is like old wives' tales, and then like the grizzled fisherman who's like, I've seen some things. That's great. And also the legends that are communicated by the space itself, which is maybe even the next, it's medium plus, intermediate plus. So like always having characters share information and making it clear that the NPCs do not have the full information. Like, I think it can be, they'll like, you know, if you roll well, they'll give you more and more details of the tales they've told, who else they think you should talk to, who's actually been in the woods, those kinds of things. But they're never going to have the full information because they don't know, because everyone who's encountered the monster has died.
Love that. That is a great point. You like?
Mhm.
How do you know for real unless people have survived?
Exactly. I live in Bigfoot territory. I'm just saying,
Do you?
like we got
Wow.
legends.
Love it. Love it.
And then also, like, for example, if you just live in a place and they're like, okay, yeah, we take in all our livestock at night. They have to be indoors. And we know, we close the shutters so that the light, that no one
Yeah.
can see who's home and who's not and things like that. Like that kind of stuff where it's like seeped into the landscape, the culture.
Yeah, I love it. And just to riff back onto that mural thing, if in a castle or a keep, there are a whole bunch of tapestries, but every single tapestry has this really weird serpent in it. Every single one of them going back for hundreds of years, or whatever. It's all right. Using art is a great way. I love the example that you gave of incomplete narrative by the NPCs. They don't actually know. Brilliant.
I also love the opposite, where the NPCs are not overtly scared, but they're just not willing to talk about it. Be like, yeah, if you're like, hey, why does every tapestry have a giant snake in it? They'd be like, who knows? Decoration. Anyway, come this way, please. Don't ask so many questions. Like, I love that energy too.
Wow.
Just like,
that's awesome.
Is there giant snakes everywhere? Huh. Weird. Anyway, tapas? Like,
yeah, that definitely will freak out the players. Go, hey, something's happening here. Is the whole town in cahoots with something? Yes, they are.
They always are. Even if they're only in cahoots with their own denial.
Oh my goodness, that's profound. Hey, this has been really, really, really insightful. I've learned a lot from this, at that kind of beginner level that you said about engaging every sense in the description and the build-up. That the build-up of a monster is where you create the fear and scariness. If you just suddenly put a lich in front of someone, that's all cool. That's great. It's a fight. It's not a scary, And then the next one about weaving in local legends into the narrative, that takes maybe a little bit more preparation or thought. That's that kind of intermediate level that you said. And the third one is to use that you can really make a monster scary by upsetting people's understanding and expectation of the world. And in specific around with monsters in Dungeons and Dragons, making them glass cannons that they just smash, they hit really hard, but also they are vulnerable. They can be taken down. Yeah, so those are some really, really awesome ideas.
Oh, I want to add one more thing for the glass cannon strat.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If you have, this is a whole shoot your monks thing. If you give it a vulnerability that caters to a player character's strength. So you got a paladin and a cleric, you make it vulnerable to radiant kind of thing so that they get to feel cool like heroes. Yes. That's even better.
And then they're the character you take out in the first round.
Exactly.
Their whole strategy is based on this super cleric, but they're gone. Hey, this is really fun. Hey, so really, really helpful, really insightful. I'm sure that people watching and listening to this will have gained a lot from that. I certainly have. What we're going to do to as our wrap up for our for this episode is we're going to look at a regular segment that we call Tools of the Trade. There's a whole bunch of new dungeon masters, and there's all these tools out there that you can use, ways that you can keep track of your campaign, of your non-playing characters. You can make maps. There's amazing tools. There's so many things we can do. Let's hear how you do it. What do you do to keep track and to create campaigns?
I've never felt more curmudgeonly than I do right now, because I need you to know that I have used them all. I've used the virtual tabletops, the lore keeping, the wikis, all of them. And I've gone full 180 back to Binder. And I think actually Binder supremacy, Binder was right all along. It was always Binder. And the reason I think Binder is so good is because I think especially as a new DM, it's so overwhelming to try and keep track of all these things. Like you're trying to really make a story happen. And I find it's much easier when you just make story pieces and then let the story unfold. And so that works really nicely. If you're like, okay, I have a handful of really cool monsters. I print off the stat blocks. I put them in my binder. I have some cool settings. I print off cute little descriptions I wrote. I put them in my binder. And that way, it's almost like creating like a roll table with myself a little bit. Like they go somewhere and I'm like, okay, cool. I got a village in here. Here's a village we found. And I just find that forever fun.
That's amazing. I love it. Do you know what? Last weekend, I was doing some tidying up of my D&D cupboard. I have a Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing game cupboard where I keep all my stuff in. And I was tidying it up, which I don't always suggest people do because you end up throwing away things that you regret later. But anyway, and I've come across all these old books. Books that go back decades of plot summaries, of monsters, of non-playing characters, of map scribbles, of maps that I've printed out and glued into the physical books. There's something about a physical thing that you can flick through. I love it.
I also firmly believe that players should be the lore keeper, not the DM. We got a lot going on in our brains. Someone else write down what happened. And then you send me the notes. I'll print it off. I'll put it in the binder. And then we have this like cool little an artifact we've created at the end. Like I really we're our own bards documenting our own adventure. And I just think that's for me, that's so much of the love of the game.
Beautiful. Wonderful, wonderful. That is so cool. Hey, Gnome, this has been a lot of fun hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. Can you let people know how they can connect with you if they don't already know how?
You can find me on Twitch or YouTube, Gnome_Anne. That's where I produce actual play and so actual streamed or videos of games I've run. And I am also on Instagram and TikTok as Gnome_Anne or Anne the Gnome if they won't let me use underscores.
Wonderful. Hey, we'll have all those links are in the video/podcast description. Again, thank you, Gnome. It's been great hanging out with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And guys, if you want to support the Dice Legenz channel further, the main way to do it is head over to our Patreon page. We have a Patreon account. It's simple, www.patreon.com/DiceLegenz. Link again down in the video description and podcast description. You can follow us for free. Doesn't cost a single penny. And there are 3 simple tiers of ways that you can support us financially to help create our content that we create. We really appreciate all the support that our patrons have given us over the last number of years. Thank you so much. And hey, roll those dice, get out the boards, get out the books, get some people around you, and let's run some D&D. All right, catch you later. See you next time.
I wave like they can see me. Bye.